have a look at these bands here. I'm gonna show you how I went about creating these. Do have other videos on this sort of topic, but I thought this would be a wee bit interesting to you. So putting all the bands and straps on around the windows, and it's going to get wet dashed like so, and very messy wet dash. Always need to wash your bands as you go, but that's the finish we're after, and we'll get a wee quick video showing you that. Before we get to all the fun part of measuring and cutting them out, we have to apply them like so, get them straight and rub smooth. And when you have them all flat, smooth, straight, finished off basically, is the fun part, the cutting. I say fun, obviously it can be a bit of a nightmare if it dries too much, or it's too wet. Cold conditions can be a bit of a nuisance, but thankfully this was good weather and not too bad when we're cutting these. But basically these are, I think they're 3" with a 4" corner. So you just technically, as long as your beads and your corners plumb, you can just measure out from top and bottom, and then use a straight edge or a level like I'm doing and getting it straight. Again, you can cut it with a trowel or a pointing trowel, anything really sharp enough, and you're wanting to really dig right into your scratch coat, rub along your scratch coat, and then you can undermine it and take it off. I like to keep the rule on, or the level as I'm using here from a straight edge, on while I'm taking it away, and that saves the corner from being chipped or peeling off the wrong way, so it sort of protects it somewhat. Again, usually these window bands would be a bit wider, maybe 4" to depends on what the sills are. You normally sort of go by the average sill, what that is, 5, 5.5, 6, just depends. And then the corners would usually be larger. In this case they're 1" larger. I think it's 3 round the windows and 4 at the corners. Looks good when it was all dashed as well. Nice shape. The good thing about bands is if you're doing like a dashed finish, it's the contrast between the rough and the smooth that sort of makes them pop, makes it stand out better, makes the window look nicer, other than just having just reveals and just dash to. Again, that still works, and obviously if you were doing this, it's more work. If you're paying for it, it's more money, obviously, because it's going to be more work. It's very slow work, but to me it's well worth the time and effort put in, because it does make the jobs look that much better, as you can see. After I do all my cutting, I just double check it all with the sponge, just cleaning off any wee bits that have just come around the corners and just sharpen it all up again. And for this one, they've asked for beads, so there's beads on, so I'm just sort of cleaning them as I go with the clean sponge. At the end of the video, I'm going to do a wee bit of a sort of giveaway of what's coming up on the channel, or what's possibly coming up on the channel. Another sort of detailed type of video. I'm really going to try and dive deep on them details of that. Something is pretty popular on the channel, so I want to do a couple more videos on that type of work. But yeah, on this one here, back to the actual video that we're on, just sort of rubbing it up here. It's all been straightened, and just rubbing it up with the float, and it's coming in nicely. Again, I know I sponge it after a cut, but I actually sponge it just beforehand as well, so that everything technically is finished as I go. The difference a wee sponge makes on the finish, guys, is it's unbelievable. Again, you could use sponge floats as well. I do have a couple of pretty good quality sponge floats, but because there's a bead here, I didn't want to destroy them ripping off the bead too much or anything, so just went for the car sponge. Again, I do have some of them click clack refiner ones that have a nice fine sponge, but this one here, they're a fine car sponge, and they're pretty good. Let me know what you think about the bead, guys, about the size of the bands. Do you like the size of the bands, or would you have liked them wider? Sort of the one on the right there, you can sort of see it's cut and finished. Would you have liked it wider? If it was your house, would it be wider over to the sill? It would have been more beneficial for us actually to have them a bit wider, as it would have saved us having to dash above some of the windows, which would have been a lot handier. And this job was, obviously it's black PVC, and we dashed and then washed, so it took a long time to get this place clean, and a lot of heartache. But yeah, not too bad. And like I said, this is the way I measured up. Your bead's plumb, guys, or your corner's plumb. Then you know that when you come up and down it, it's going to be margined right. So just coming out the 3 inches there, you can see them marks. The longer the level you use, but if you're like me and you're sort of cutting them just solo, then it's going to be difficult to hold a bigger level. So a small level like so, 3 foot, 4 foot, it's going to be a bit more manageable. And you know, it's each to their own. Bigger is better, but in this case I have to drop down off the scaffold planks here anyway, so it kind of works out just as handy to cut the top and then fall down the bottom and cut the bottom. And like I said, I'm holding it by myself here, so it makes for easier handling. And you can see I cut one of the bands at the start with a trowel, but I do like pointing trowels that much better. Just find they're a wee bit handier to hold and use. Sometimes a trowel. Again, don't use a good skimming trowel or a good floating trowel. Use an older trowel that you're not concerned about sort of nicking or anything. As if you do nick your trowels from cutting bands, when you come to skimming again, it's not going to be so nice, guys. You're going to have all these scrapes on it. So yeah, that's why the pointer is a wee bit more favourable. So you can see I just slip it off, and a wee tiny bit of damage there, but you can see how good the sponge can pick it up here. It's not too bad. So yeah, always touch them up after, to make sure that there's no rough edges and stuff. And again, if you're having beads, make sure they're all nice and clean and tidy and sharp looking, and you know, it'll really pop out, especially against the dash, the wet dash or dry dash that you're going to do. So down the bottom here, as promised, just to cut the bottom half of this, and off we go to the next one. But yeah, footy oil work, slow process, but does have its rewards and does look very, very good when all done. I keep saying about dash on the background because that's normally when you have bands around the windows, you normally do have dash, but it does look good when it's rubbed underneath as well. So you know, it still stands out, especially if you were doing acrylic and you could do your bands darker or lighter than the background. Just make each other stand out even more, contrast each other. But yeah, let me know all your thoughts on all of what I've been talking about, guys. Or would you like an even more detailed video on how to cut bands, how to cut straps, the mix? You want me to dive into anything in particular? I'll try and get that answered, always do. But yeah, so shortly, once I get this cut, I'll show you what could be up and coming on the video. Gonna take me a lot of editing. Did lose a bit of footage from it too, but yeah, that's another story. Always seem to, sometimes when I get really good footage, it ends up for some reason just corrupts. The memory card just decides to stop working. But yeah, or I accidentally delete things. Sometimes it is my fault too. But yeah, so that's the bottom all cut. And like I said, that bottom there at the very bottom, that'll have a step, and then there's going to be a flat base underneath. I'll keep you in the dark no longer, although I am in the dark, but sort of might do a detailed video on some brick effect, guys. Again, dive into the colours and the mixes, all my tactics and tools, if people want to see it, that is really.